into an event of consummate importance. Now, in a few moments, the great young pianist Glenn Gould is going to play with us a movement from a Bach concerto. Gould and Bach have become a kind of legendary combination in spite of Gould's extreme youth and Bach's extreme age. Now, of course, Gould has exactly the same performance problems with Bach that our friends conductors A and Z have had with Beethoven, only more so, because Bach, way back there in the early 18th century, belonged to a time when composers weren't being very generous with information about how to play their notes. Just look at this first page from the D minor concerto we're going to hear. We are told what instruments are playing, like a dramatis personae, and we are told what notes they play. But besides that, there's nothing but a pitifully few clues to performance. Allegro, fast, piano, soft, and a few signs making certain notes short or smooth. Then look at this page later on in the same work. Nothing at all but the notes. Not a word about performance, not a sign of phrasing or dynamics or accents. Now, does it mean that this whole passage is to be played with no dynamic variety at all, just as it appears on the page, like this? Well, that's unutterably dull. But on the other hand, to what extent can the pianist supply dynamic variety? Perhaps he could mold the music a bit by mirroring its rise and fall with analogous rises and falls of volume, like this. Well, that might be one way of solving the puzzle. But there are countless other ways, and I'm sure Mr. Gould's way will undoubtedly be different, based on his own judgments, instincts, and highly individual personality. The problem is almost exactly like interpreting a page of Shakespeare, who was equally uninformative. Only look at Hamlet. You see dramatis personae, then you find Act 1, Scene 1, Elsinore, a platform before the castle. Francisco at his post. Enter to him Bernardo. Bernardo, who's there? That's all. No description of the set or of the period, the costumes, the characters, nothing. Is Bernardo huge or tiny? 20 years old or 40? Is it a cold night, windy, cloudy, raining? Not a word, just Elsinore and who's there. Now, if we're directing Hamlet, how could we decide about that opening line of Bernardo's? Is he a confident type of guard who will bellow, "Who's there?" Or is he a scared type who will whisper shakily, "Who's there?" Or is he a matter-of-fact guard who simply asks a routine question, "Who's there?" as if he had been asking it a dozen times already that night? Well, the only answer is to be found by reading the play, studying it, learning about the characters from their entire dialogue, and from the events that ensue. Well, that's exactly our situation with Bach. In order to decide on a general approach to these taciturn pages of black notes, we must study the whole work, get to know its insides, and then draw our conclusions. So Glenn Gould must decide, and I as his accompanist must decide with him, all kinds of matters of tempo and phrasing and everything else that we feel necessary to convey Bach's deepest musical meanings to you, the listener. For example, is the opening statement of the concerto a rich, deep-voiced utterance to be delivered smoothly and grandly, like this? Or is it a highly inflected utterance, a sequence of short, separate little phrases which, strung together, might make a more varied and interesting sentence, like this? Well, whatever it turns out to be, it will probably not be in either of the extreme styles we have just illustrated, but something between, containing both richness and inflectedness. In any case, what it will not be is a dull, literal playing of the notes, if I know Mr. Gould.